The sudden betrayal. The sun rose over Earth, casting its warm light on the busy cities below. People were waking up, starting their day just like any other. But no one knew that today would mark the beginning of a new chapter in human history, one that would forever change the fate of Earth. The Galactic Council, once allies of humanity, had turned their backs on them. Earth had always been a member of the Galactic Council, a peaceful alliance of advanced civilizations spread across the galaxy. For years, humans had worked alongside the Council, helping maintain peace, sharing knowledge, and learning from other species. The Council had been a symbol of security, a reminder that humanity had a place among the stars. But on this day, the peace shattered. It started with a single message, cold, calculated, and full of authority. Earth has been found guilty of treason against the Galactic Council. Surrender your sovereignty or face total destruction. The words hit the people of Earth like a thunderclap. They were not prepared for this. Betrayed by the very beings they had trusted, Earth was now a target. The message was broadcast across all communication channels, silencing the world's leaders. There was no explanation, no reason, just an order. And with it came the terrifying realization that the Galactic Council had decided Earth's fate without a second thought. The very people who had fought beside humanity in countless battles and shared knowledge for generations now turned their backs on them. In the panic that followed, Earth's leaders scrambled to understand what had happened. The military was on high alert, preparing for the worst. But they had no plan. Earth had no defenses capable of matching the power of the Galactic Council's fleets. The advanced alien ships had technology far beyond what humanity had ever seen, and Earth's fleets were small, old, and unprepared for such an attack. General Sarah Blackwood sat in the command room, her mind racing. She had served in the Galactic Alliance for years and had seen the strength of the Council's forces firsthand. The idea that the Council would betray humanity like this was unthinkable. She had trusted them. They had all trusted them. And now, humanity was alone. "What do we do, General?" asked Lieutenant Markson, his voice shaky. The fear in his eyes reflected the terror that was gripping everyone in the room. They were staring into the face of annihilation, and no one knew how to fight back. Blackwood stared at the screen in front of her, showing the incoming ships from the Council. Hundreds of warships, each more powerful than anything Earth had ever seen, were making their way toward Earth. The invasion was already in motion. Earth had no choice but to prepare for the worst. But in the midst of this chaos, something remarkable happened. The room grew silent as a secure transmission came through. It was encrypted, and no one knew who had sent it. General Blackwood authorized the message to be opened. On the screen appeared a familiar face, Admiral Richard Howe, a man Blackwood had trusted for years. But this time, his expression was grim. "General, this is a message you were never meant to see. What I'm about to say is classified, and it's not meant for the public. But Earth has one final weapon, a fleet of ships that has been hidden for generations." The message continued. Admiral Howe explained that the fleet was not just a group of ships. It was a powerful force built in secret, designed to defend humanity in the event of an emergency just like this. The fleet was hidden away in a distant sector of space, away from the prying eyes of the Galactic Council. And now, it was time to activate it. "We've kept this fleet a secret for so long because we didn't want to raise suspicion," Howe said. "But the time has come. Earth's ancient fleet is ready to fight." Blackwood's heart raced. The fleet she had only heard rumors of. The fleet she had never seen with her own eyes. Could it really exist? Could this be their salvation? She stood up, her resolve hardening. "Prepare the fleet for launch. We're going to fight back." Meanwhile, on Earth's surface, chaos was spreading. People were in panic, running through the streets, trying to flee from the inevitable attack. Governments tried to calm the public, but there was no way to hide the truth. Earth was about to be destroyed, and there was no escape. In space, the Galactic Council's warships advanced toward Earth, their massive hulls glistening in the cold vacuum of space. The Council's fleets had already destroyed several smaller civilizations, and now Earth was next. They had no intention of negotiating or explaining their actions. To them, humanity was no more than a tool they had used and now discarded. As the first waves of Council ships entered Earth's atmosphere, General Blackwood stood tall, staring at the monitors. The enemy was closing in fast, but Earth had one last chance. The fleet that had been hidden for so long, the fleet that no one knew about. It was their only hope. "Launch the fleet," Blackwood ordered. The command was sent, and deep in space, far from Earth, ships began to awaken. Ancient warships, built with technologies lost to time, slowly powered up. They were massive, silent giants of metal and energy. Each ship had been designed for war, built to defend humanity in their darkest hour. The ships, once forgotten, now became humanity's last line of defense. Back on Earth, people looked up at the sky as the first signs of battle appeared. The air was tense, and every eye was on the sky, waiting to see what would happen. The Galactic Council's fleet, so confident in their victory, had no idea what was coming. They didn't know about the fleet, and they didn't know about the fury of a species fighting for survival. The tension in the command room was unbearable. General Blackwood paced back and forth, her mind racing. The unknown fleet that had just been awakened. Could it really be enough to stand against the might of the Galactic Council? She couldn't afford to doubt. This was humanity's last chance. Outside the Earth's atmosphere, the first wave of the Galactic Council's ships were descending. The alien fleet moved with terrifying precision, their vast hulls looming in space like predators circling their prey. The flagship of the Council, a colossal vessel that dwarfed anything humanity had ever seen, led the charge. Its weapons were ready, and its sensors were already locked onto Earth's defenses. Humanity, it seemed, was doomed. But as the Council's fleet advanced, something unexpected happened. From the deep recesses of space, hidden for centuries, a force began to move. The ancient fleet that had been dormant for so long was finally awakened. The first of the ships powered up, sending shockwaves through the empty void. Then, one by one, more ships came online. Massive, sleek vessels that glowed with an eerie energy, their surface designs unlike anything the Council had ever encountered. These ships were relics of a bygone era, but they were powerful, perhaps more powerful than anything the Galactic Council had ever imagined. Back on Earth, Blackwood watched as the fleet's movements were transmitted to the command room's large screen. She saw the first ships exiting their hidden base in the farthest reaches of space, each one heading toward Earth at breakneck speed. There was no turning back now. The battle had begun. "We have less than 15 minutes until the Council's fleet arrives," Blackwood said, her voice steady despite the fear gnawing at her. "Prepare the fleet for combat. I want every ship ready to launch." Her orders were followed quickly, and within minutes, Earth's ancient fleet was poised to defend its home. As the ships began to take formation, the sound of roaring engines echoed through the command room. The weight of history seemed to hang heavy on their shoulders. These ships had been built to protect humanity, but they had never been used. No one knew how they would perform in combat. This was as much a gamble as it was a fight for survival. In the vastness of space, the Galactic Council's flagship, the Regal Enforcer, loomed closer to Earth. It was the perfect symbol of the Council's dominance, immense, powerful, and unyielding. The ship's commander, Admiral Zellor, stood at the helm, gazing out at the blue-green planet below. "Prepare for the assault," Admiral Zellor ordered. "Target Earth's primary defenses. They won't be able to withstand our firepower. We'll wipe them out in minutes." He turned to his second-in-command, a tall, imposing alien named Krilf. "Activate the first wave of plasma cannons. Let's show them the might of the Galactic Council." The Regal Enforcer's weapons powered up with a hum of energy. Admiral Zellor's eyes narrowed as he saw the Earth's defensive systems fall one by one. The human fleet, if it could even be called that, was nowhere in sight. Zelor was confident. The Earth had no chance. But what Zelor didn't know was that Earth's ancient fleet had already begun its journey, and it was headed straight toward them. Deep in the reaches of space, General Blackwood stood at the control center of the Earth Fleet Command. Her eyes were locked on the screens, watching the approaching ships. A deep, unsettling silence filled the room, broken only by the occasional hum of machinery as the ships powered up for battle. "Fleet Commander Marshall, report," Blackwood said, her voice firm and commanding. "Fleet is in position, General," Commander Marshall replied. "All ships are at full readiness. We're about to launch." "Very well," she said. "Let's show them what humanity is capable of." The massive ships of Earth's hidden fleet, once thought to be lost in time, rose from their hiding places in the distant corners of the galaxy. As they moved toward Earth's defense line, the sheer scale of their size became apparent. The ships were enormous, many of them built for long-range warfare, their sleek, dark hulls shimmering as they cut through space. These were the ships humanity had secretly constructed during its earliest days in space, designed to protect Earth in the event of an invasion. An event that, until now, had seemed unlikely. As the ships sped toward Earth, Blackwood's thoughts raced. They had never tested this fleet. No one knew for sure how well they would perform. The technology was ancient, built on principles and materials that even humanity had long since forgotten. But it didn't matter. The fleet was all they had. Suddenly, a warning light flashed on the control panel. The Galactic Council's fleet had entered Earth's atmosphere. "Enemy ships are in range," Lieutenant Markson shouted. "We have no time left." "Hold your ground," General Blackwood ordered. "The fleet will engage. This is humanity's moment to show the galaxy what we can do." Back in space, the Earth fleet was closing in on the Council's forces. The alien ships, confident in their superiority, had not yet realized that humanity's final weapon was now a force to be reckoned with. As Earth's fleet moved into battle formation, Blackwood's eyes widened with a mixture of disbelief and determination. These ships weren't just relics. They were miracles, built from the very essence of Earth's long-forgotten history. "Activate weapon systems," Blackwood commanded. In the blink of an eye, Earth's fleet opened fire. Brilliant beams of energy lanced through the cold blackness of space, striking the Galactic Council's flagship. The Regal Enforcer shook under the impact, its shields flickering as the first shots from the Earth fleet tore into its hull. The battle had begun. The shockwave from the attack reverberated across space, and for the first time in history, the Galactic Council's fleet realized they were not invincible. The battle would be fierce, and Earth was fighting with everything it had. But this was just the beginning. The air in the command room was thick with tension. General Blackwood stood at the heart of the operations center, her eyes scanning the various monitors that displayed the unfolding chaos in space. The battle had erupted in full force, and humanity's ancient fleet was locked in combat with the formidable Galactic Council. A deadly silence hung in the room, broken only by the occasional hum of machinery and the sharp, urgent voice of her officers. "Direct hit on the flagship, General," Lieutenant Markson reported, his voice taut with disbelief. "Their shields are failing. We've scored another hit on their weapons array." Blackwood's heart surged with cautious hope, but she didn't allow herself to relax. She knew the Council's fleet was still a massive force, and Earth's ships were outnumbered. The ancient fleet was powerful, but it was still a relic, and the technology of the Galactic Council was far more advanced. The real question was whether the surprise factor could buy them enough time to turn the tide. "Good," Blackwood replied, her voice cold and steady. "But don't get overconfident. The battle has just begun." Across the battlefield, the Regal Enforcer, the flagship of the Galactic Council, was taking a beating. Massive, pulsing energy blasts from Earth's ships were hammering against its once impenetrable shields. For the first time in years, the Council's forces were on the defensive. Admiral Zelor, the leader of the Council's fleet, clenched his fists in frustration as he watched his flagship tremble under the onslaught. This was supposed to be a simple conquest, the final step in expanding the Council's dominance across the galaxy. But now, Earth was proving to be an unexpected threat. He could feel the pressure mounting. The Council had never encountered an enemy quite like this, an ancient, hidden fleet that seemed to come out of nowhere. "Activate the secondary weapons array," Zoller barked, his voice icy. "Return fire. We will not be bested by these primitives." His command was carried out immediately, and the regal enforcer fired back with a series of deadly plasma beams. The dark energy lanced across the sky, leaving trails of fire in their wake. Several of Earth's ships took hits, their shields flaring with the impact. But they held firm, returning fire with increasing ferocity. Humanity was not backing down. The clash between the two fleets was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The Galactic Council's ships were sleek and modern, with advanced weaponry and cutting-edge technology. In contrast, Earth's fleet, though ancient, was no less deadly. Its ships were massive and heavily armed, designed for long-range combat, and equipped with experimental weapons that no one, not even the Council, had anticipated. These ships had been hidden for centuries, waiting for this very moment. As the battle raged on, General Blackwood's mind raced. She knew they couldn't afford to let the Galactic Council regroup. Earth's fleet had an advantage, but it was only temporary. The Council's forces were relentless, and if they were allowed to reorganize, they could overwhelm humanity's defenses. "Commander Marshall, take the fleet to the far side of the asteroid belt," Blackwood ordered. "We need to break their formation. If we can split them up, we'll have a better chance of picking them off one by one." Marshall nodded quickly. "Understood, General. Moving now." The command was relayed to the fleet, and the ships immediately began to maneuver. They split into smaller groups, darting in and out of the dense asteroid field that separated them from the Council's forces. The plan was risky, but it was their best chance. If Earth's ships could take advantage of the cover the asteroid field provided, they could hit the Council's forces from unexpected angles. The Galactic Council's fleet, meanwhile, was beginning to regain its composure. The regal enforcer had sustained significant damage, but it was far from destroyed. Zoller wasn't going to allow Earth to get away with this humiliation. He had a reputation to uphold. "Prepare the disruptor cannons," he commanded. "We need to crush their fleet before they scatter. They won't escape." The disruptor cannons were the Council's most powerful weapon. Once fired, they could disable an enemy ship's shields, leaving it vulnerable to attack. It was a weapon designed to obliterate entire fleets. Zoller's eyes gleamed with cold fury as he watched the weapon systems power up. The battle wasn't over, not by a long shot. Back on Earth, Blackwood and her team watched anxiously as the Galactic Council's fleet began to recover. The screens flashed with incoming data, signs of reinforcements, new weapon systems coming online. The Council was adapting quickly, and Earth's fleet had no time to waste. "All ships, prepare to move into position," Blackwood said firmly. "We've got one shot at this. If we don't take them down now, they'll wipe us out." As Earth's fleet adjusted their position, the commanders of each ship knew the stakes had never been higher. This wasn't just a battle for survival. This was a battle for humanity's very existence. And then, as if on cue, the first wave of Galactic Council's disruptor cannons fired. The energy burst out in a brilliant flash of light, cutting through the blackness of space. The beams hit Earth's ships with stunning force. Several vessels lost their shields, leaving them open to attack. But Earth's fleet wasn't finished yet. With a series of rapid maneuvers, the ships ducked and weaved, evading some of the Council's most devastating shots. The battle was far from over. The fight for Earth had only just begun. The regal enforcer was still reeling from the damage. Admiral Zoller growled in frustration as his flagship's weapons systems struggled to target the elusive Earth ships. His crew worked quickly to make repairs, but the damage to the flagship was extensive. For the first time in years, the Council was on the back foot, and it wasn't a position they were accustomed to. "We can't let them win," Zilor muttered under his breath. "We'll crush them. All ships, fire at will." The full force of the Council's firepower was unleashed as every ship in the fleet opened fire. Energy blasts and plasma beams filled the space around them, each one capable of devastating entire ships. The battle was reaching its peak, and the fate of humanity hung in the balance. Back on Earth, General Blackwood's face was a mask of determination. She knew what was at stake, and she was willing to risk everything to see it through. The fate of the galaxy rested on the shoulders of humanity's ancient fleet, and it would not fall without a fight. The battle had reached a crucial point. Space around the two fleets was alive with energy blasts and the flickering light of weapons fire. Both sides were desperate, knowing that the outcome of this conflict could shift the balance of power in the galaxy forever. But as the Galactic Council's ships regrouped and tried to regain their upper hand, something unexpected happened. Humanity's ancient fleet, though battered and bruised, was showing resilience, an unyielding spirit that had been hidden for centuries, now unleashed with terrifying force. General Blackwood stood at the heart of the command center, her mind racing as she analyzed the latest reports. The Galactic Council had underestimated humanity's ability to endure, to fight back against overwhelming odds. The Regal Enforcer, the flagship of the Council, was still out there, firing relentlessly. But Earth's fleet had managed to evade some of the deadliest attacks. They were on the offensive now, slowly gaining ground. "General," Lieutenant Markson's voice broke through her thoughts. "The disruptor cannons on the Regal Enforcer, they're recharging. They'll be ready in a matter of minutes." Blackwood nodded, eyes narrowing. "We need to disable them before they fire again. Prepare all ships to focus fire on the Regal Enforcer. Take down their shields, then target their weapons systems." The battle was far from over, but Blackwood felt the tide beginning to shift in their favor. The Galactic Council might have the technology, but humanity had something far more dangerous: sheer determination. Their fleet may not have been as advanced, but it was fueled by something that the Council could never understand: love for their home, and a drive to protect what was theirs. Meanwhile, Admiral Zeller of the Galactic Council was seething in frustration. His fleet was struggling to maintain control, their once unstoppable advance now slowed by the Earth fleet's unexpected resistance. The human ships were unlike anything the Council had faced before. Their ancient designs, thought to be obsolete, were proving more than a match for the Council's superior technology. "What is happening?" Zeller growled, his fists clenched as he watched his fleet falter. "Why are they still fighting? Why haven't they surrendered?" His officers could only exchange nervous glances. The enemy was stronger than anticipated. The Regal Enforcer was heavily damaged, and its shields were nearly depleted. Zeller could feel the pressure mounting with every passing moment. "They can't have much left," Zeller muttered to himself. "We just need to hold on a little longer, and we'll crush them." But the uncertainty in his voice betrayed his confidence. It was clear that the Council had underestimated humanity in a way they hadn't realized until now. Back on Earth, the morale of the fleet had surged. The word had spread among the commanders that the Regal Enforcer was vulnerable, and they took the opportunity to press the advantage. Earth's ships moved swiftly, forming tight formations as they swarmed toward the Galactic Council's flagship. The massive warships fired in unison, their blasts shaking the void of space as they hit the Council's defenses with precision. "Direct hit," Commander Marshall shouted. "The Regal Enforcer's shields are down." Blackwood's heart raced as she watched the reports flood in. This was the moment they had been waiting for. "Now focus everything we've got on their weapons systems," Blackwood ordered. The fleet obeyed without hesitation. The Earth ships turned their firepower toward the weak points in the Council's ship. With each blast, the Regal Enforcer groaned, its once proud hull beginning to buckle. The once formidable flagship of the Galactic Council was now a shell of its former self, struggling to hold its ground against the relentless barrage. Admiral Zeller watched in horror as his flagship was torn apart. His hands trembled on the command console, but his pride wouldn't allow him to retreat. The Galactic Council had never been defeated. They had conquered countless worlds, subjugated entire civilizations, and faced rebellions before. But this was different. "This is impossible," Zeller screamed. "Activate all remaining defenses. We cannot let them win." But despite his commands, the damage continued to mount. Earth's fleet had found their weakness, and they were exploiting it with deadly accuracy. As the Regal Enforcer continued to take hits, Zeller issued one final desperate order: prepare to evacuate. Get all non-essential personnel off the ship. He couldn't afford to lose the flagship, but there was no other choice. His only hope now was to escape, regroup, and launch another assault. As chaos erupted on the Regal Enforcer, Blackwood knew that victory was within their grasp. She watched as the Council's ships scattered, unable to maintain their formation. Earth's fleet pressed on, their ships relentless, taking down the Council's warships one by one. "We're not finished yet," Blackwood said quietly to herself, her voice filled with grim determination. "Not while I still breathe." In the void of space, the Earth fleet's ships were striking at the heart of the Galactic Council's forces. The battle, once tilted heavily in the Council's favor, had now become a fight for survival. And for the first time in the conflict, it was the Council that was on the defensive. The Regal Enforcer was sinking into the void, its weapon systems disabled and its hull cracked and damaged. The flagship that had once been a symbol of the Council's overwhelming power was now just a floating hulk in the dark expanse of space. "We've done it," Lieutenant Markson said, barely believing it. "They're retreating. The Regal Enforcer is falling apart." General Blackwood allowed herself a moment of relief, but only a moment. "Don't celebrate yet," she said. "We still have to finish this." Even though they had gained the upper hand, Blackwood knew that this battle was far from won. The Galactic Council was not a foe to be underestimated. But for now, humanity had struck a blow that they would never forget. And as the fleet pushed forward, Blackwood couldn't help but feel the weight of what had been accomplished. As the Earth fleet advanced through the galaxy, leaving behind a trail of destruction, the Galactic Council was in chaos. What had once been a symbol of power, a force feared by countless civilizations, was now unraveling at the seams. The once unified front of the Council was breaking apart as factions formed, blaming each other for their catastrophic failure. The Council's grip on the galaxy, so tightly held for millennia, was slipping away. Admiral Zeller stood in the ruins of the Regal Enforcer, his face pale as he surveyed the damage. His flagship was crippled beyond repair, its once pristine hull riddled with deep scars. The massive warship was drifting aimlessly in space, now little more than a shell. The humiliation was unbearable. The mighty Galactic Council had been defeated by humanity, a species they had long dismissed as primitive. "We underestimated them," Zeller muttered, his voice bitter. "We should have eradicated them when we had the chance." The room fell silent as his officers tried to regroup. It was clear that the Council was fractured, and Zeller knew that without unity, they had no hope of winning. The Council's fleet had been decimated, and what remained of their forces was scattered and disorganized. Earth's ancient fleet was relentless, pushing forward with unyielding strength, and there was no telling how long the Council could hold out. Back on Earth, General Blackwood was strategizing her next move. The battle was far from over, but for the first time since the conflict began, she felt a sense of hope. Their fleet was battered, many ships were damaged, but they had shown the galaxy their true power. Humanity had been pushed to the brink of extinction, but they had fought back. Now, they were unstoppable. "General, the fleet is ready for the next phase," Lieutenant Markson said, stepping into the command center. "We've gathered enough resources to launch a full-scale offensive on the Council's remaining strongholds." Blackwood nodded, her mind racing. "Make it happen. But be cautious. We may have the advantage now, but we can't afford to underestimate them. The Council is dangerous, even in its weakened state. The next phase of their strategy was set. Earth would push toward the heart of the Council's remaining power, its homeworld. Blackwood knew that capturing the Council's central hub would send a powerful message to the galaxy. It would break their will to fight, and perhaps even force a surrender. But the journey would be treacherous. The Galactic Council had powerful allies scattered throughout the galaxy, and they wouldn't go down without a fight. As the Earth fleet set course for the Galactic Council's homeworld, a wave of tension swept through the ships. Despite their victories, the soldiers knew that the next battle could be their last. The closer they got to the Council's heart, the more dangerous their mission became. The Council was not about to let their dominance slip away without a final desperate attempt to regain control. Admiral Zalor, though humbled by his defeat, was not ready to give up. He had called upon every resource he could find: old alliances, secret weapons, anything to stop Earth's relentless advance. He knew that if he lost this battle, his career and perhaps even his life would be over. "Prepare the remaining fleet," Zalor ordered. "We will make our stand at the Council's homeworld. We will not let Earth claim victory." His officers nodded, though they could see the doubt in his eyes. The fear of failure was palpable, and it spread to every officer in the room. The once proud Galactic Council was now fighting for its survival. The final journey to the heart of the Galactic Council's territory was tense for Earth's fleet. General Blackwood stood at the helm of the flagship, eyes focused ahead as her officers went through the motions of preparing for the impending battle. The silence on the command deck was deafening, broken only by the soft hum of the ship's systems. "General," Lieutenant Markson said, his voice low, "we've detected several fleets heading our way. The Council is gathering their forces for a final stand." Blackwood didn't flinch. "Prepare our fleet. We've come too far to turn back now. We're finishing this." On the outskirts of the Council's homeworld, both fleets gathered. The final confrontation loomed, and the air was thick with anticipation. The Galactic Council's remaining warships formed a massive defense perimeter around their planet, determined to hold on to what was left of their power. Earth's fleet was smaller but more focused than ever, driven by the knowledge that the fate of their people and their future depended on this last fight. General Blackwood gave a firm nod to her officers. "This is it. We either end this now, or we risk everything." Her words echoed across the fleet as they prepared for battle. The ships began their approach, moving into formation, every ship ready to face the oncoming storm. As the Earth fleet drew closer to the Galactic Council's forces, Blackwood's mind raced. The Council's desperation was palpable, but so was humanity's resolve. They were fighting not just for survival, but for the future of their world. Admiral Zalor, observing the Earth fleet from his command center, took a deep breath. This would be his final stand. The moment had come for him to prove that the Galactic Council could still rise from the ashes, or perish trying. "We will not let Earth take our homeworld," Zalor said through gritted teeth. "Every ship, every weapon, must be readied. We fight for the future of the galaxy." The stage was set. The battle that would decide the fate of the galaxy was about to begin, and neither side would go down without a fight. The two fleets hovered at the edge of the Galactic Council's homeworld. Space between them was vast, but the tension felt suffocating. Both sides were preparing for the fight of their lives. Admiral Zalor stood on the bridge of his ship, eyes fixed on the Earth fleet that was steadily advancing toward them. He could feel his heart pounding in his chest, and yet there was no turning back. The Council had made its decision. Now they had to face the consequences. "We must win this, no matter the cost," Zalor muttered to himself, clenching his fists. His officers were scattered throughout the bridge, their faces tense with a mix of fear and determination. "They think we're done. But we'll show them that the Galactic Council is not so easily beaten." His words were met with a murmur of agreement. The Council's forces had been dwindling, but they still had some of the best weapons the galaxy had ever seen. and the sheer desperation in Zedler's eyes proved he was willing to sacrifice everything to ensure victory. Back on Earth's flagship, General Blackwood stood at the helm, her expression steely. The time for strategy was over. The fleets were almost upon each other. The silence on the bridge was overwhelming. Each officer moved quickly, preparing their ships, checking the systems, ensuring every last detail was perfect. "General, we're entering range. The Council's fleet is in sight," Lieutenant Markson reported, his voice tense with anticipation. Blackwood nodded. "This is it. Make sure everyone knows their role. We don't get a second chance." The battle was on the cusp of erupting. Earth's fleet was more agile, faster, and more cohesive than the Council's, but the stakes were higher than ever. The fate of their planet, their people, and the entire galaxy now rested on the next few minutes. The first shot was fired by the Council. A beam of blinding light streaked toward Earth's flagship, cutting through the void. It was a massive energy blast, the type that had decimated countless fleets before, but this time it was different. The blast hit one of Earth's ships directly, sending it spiraling out of control as its hull began to melt under the intensity of the blast. "Shields are holding," shouted the chief engineer. "But that was too close. We can't take another hit like that." General Blackwood didn't flinch. Her eyes remained locked on the battle. "We have to keep pushing. Everyone, stay focused. Our fleet is stronger than theirs, but it's up to us to prove it." Her voice carried throughout the fleet, a calm in the storm. Earth's ships began to respond, firing their own energy blasts in retaliation, streaking across the dark sky. But the Council was relentless. Their fleet may have been broken, but they fought with every ounce of desperation left within them. Admiral Zedler's voice crackled over the comms as he directed his remaining fleet. "We will not yield. Attack now. Show them the strength of the Galactic Council." The space around them erupted into chaos as the two forces clashed, a storm of energy beams, missiles, and ship debris filling the air. Earth's fleet was nimble, dodging blasts with precise movements. Yet the Council was determined, using every weapon at their disposal, launching strike after strike. As the battle raged on, General Blackwood saw her opportunity. She had watched the Council's movements, studied their weaknesses. The Galactic Council's fleet might have had the technology, but they lacked the unity and adaptability of humanity. Earth's fleet may have been smaller, but it was more coordinated, more determined. "We're flanking them," she shouted to her officers. "Now hit their central command ship, take it down, and the rest of them will follow." The orders were given, and Earth's ships changed course, moving rapidly toward the heart of the Council's forces. The Earth fleet closed in on the central command ship, their weapons charged, their will unbreakable. They had lost so much already, but they were fighting for their survival, and nothing would stop them. On the Council's flagship, Zedler's heart raced as he saw Earth's ships closing in. He had underestimated them. He had thought they would falter, that they would back down, but Earth had only grown stronger. Their tactics were unpredictable, their resolve unwavering. "Fire everything we've got," Zedler commanded, his voice filled with fury. The final battle was before them, and failure was no longer an option. The massive weapons of the Council flagship lit up with deadly force, but Earth's ships were too quick. With coordinated precision, they dodged the blasts and closed the gap. The Council's command ship was now within range. Earth's fleet was preparing for the kill. "General, we're in position," Lieutenant Markson reported, his voice tense. Blackwood's eyes narrowed. "Target their main reactor. Fire on my mark." The seconds felt like hours as the Earth fleet closed the distance. The command ship loomed ahead, its immense size intimidating, but Earth was not afraid. Humanity had endured much worse. This was their moment. "Now," Blackwood shouted. The sky lit up with a blinding explosion as Earth's fleet fired everything they had at the heart of the Galactic Council's flagship. The blast was so powerful it seemed to shake the very fabric of space itself. Zalor's flagship groaned as it was hit, its shields failing under the immense pressure. It was clear that the fight was nearing its end. Admiral Zalor stood at the helm, staring in disbelief as his flagship shuddered and groaned. The lights flickered, and the ship's systems began to fail. He knew that their time was running out. "Prepare to abandon ship," Zalor ordered, his voice cold. "This battle is lost." The mighty Galactic Council, once the pinnacle of power in the galaxy, was crumbling before humanity's strength. The last desperate remnants of their fleet fought to the bitter end, but there was no escaping the truth. The battle was over. General Blackwood watched the devastation unfold before her, a grim satisfaction settling over her. They had done it. The Galactic Council had fallen, and humanity had emerged victorious. But even as the last remnants of the Council's fleet were destroyed, Blackwood knew that this victory came at a high cost. Many lives had been lost, countless ships destroyed, and the galaxy would never be the same. Yet, Earth had proven that, no matter the odds, humanity could rise to any challenge. The dust of the battle settled, and for the first time in history, the galaxy stood in awe of Earth's triumph. The Galactic Council had betrayed humanity, and now they would pay the price for underestimating them. The aftermath of the battle was a sight unlike any the galaxy had ever seen. Floating debris from both fleets scattered the once peaceful expanse of space. The colossal wreckage of the Galactic Council's once mighty fleet now drifted in the cold void. Earth's ships, though battered and scarred, had emerged victorious. The hum of life on Earth's flagship was a quiet reminder of the strength and determination that had carried them through. General Blackwood stood on the command deck, gazing out into the distance. The silence that followed the battle was deafening. For a moment, she allowed herself to process what had just transpired. The Council had betrayed them, had thought they could crush humanity beneath their heels. And yet, they were now gone, broken by a force they never thought possible. Blackwood had always known that humanity's greatest strength lay not in its technology or weapons, but in its resilience. When pushed to the edge, when there seemed to be no hope left, humanity had found a way to fight back. "General, the fleet's reporting in," Lieutenant Markson said, breaking her reverie. "All ships are accounted for. We've sustained heavy damage, but we're still operational." Blackwood nodded. She had expected losses, but nothing could undo the victory they had achieved. "Patch me through to Earth's leaders. It's time to address our people." As she spoke, the screen before her flickered to life, showing the faces of the world's leaders, gathered together in a secure conference room. They were all silent, eyes locked on her, waiting for the news. General Blackwood, one of the leaders, President Reynolds, began. "What is the status of the battle? Have we won?" "Yes, Mr. President," Blackwood replied, her voice steady. "We've defeated the Galactic Council. Their fleet has been destroyed, and their power has been shattered. Humanity stands victorious." A collective sigh of relief swept through the room. Blackwood could see the relief, but she also saw the weariness. The war had taken its toll on everyone. But she continued, "This victory didn't come without cost. Many lives have been lost, and the damage to our fleet is significant. We will need to rebuild, but this is a new beginning for us all." The leaders nodded solemnly. "The galaxy will look at Earth differently now," President Reynolds said. "But we must remain vigilant. We know there are still forces out there, and the Council's defeat doesn't erase the dangers that still loom over us." "We're ready for whatever comes next," Blackwood responded. "Humanity has proven itself. We're no longer the weak underdogs. We've shown that we can stand up to the most powerful forces in the galaxy and win. And we'll continue to protect our home, no matter what." As the communication ended, Blackwood looked out into space again. The stars were quiet now, but she knew they had just entered a new chapter in their history. The days of being looked down upon were over. Earth had taken its place among the stars, not as a forgotten corner of the galaxy, but as a force to be reckoned with. But even in victory there was a heavy burden. Humanity had fought for survival, and now they had to ensure that they would never again be caught off guard. The war had ended, but the real challenge had just begun. Earth had become a symbol of defiance, of resilience, but they could not afford to relax.